Welcome to The View, where recruitment, marketing and society comes together.
Hi, I'm Neil Armstrong from TribePad, and today I am chatting with Pietro Manenti from HRflow. They're a French artificial intelligence company who are powering recruitment and HR decisions at scale across Europe. Pietro's got some really interesting insights into who they're going to be the winners and the losers in the market, what the risks are of using AI and the dangers and the compliance, but why AI fundamentally can be better, more efficient, more effective, and safer than humans using their own judgment in recruiting. This is The View from TribePad, where recruitment, people, and purpose come together. I am delighted to be speaking with Pietro Manenti, who is from HRflow. You may not have heard of HRflow, but there's a really good chance you have interacted with their technology. They're an artificial intelligence company from France, and they're specialists in the application of artificial intelligence in the HR workflow, something that we're hearing a lot about. So, Pietro, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Neil, for inviting me.
No problem. So according to your website, HRflow's powered more than 1 billion hiring decisions, which is an incredible number. How has that happened? How have you got to such a large number?
Yeah, so HRflow has been around for 10 years. So we are really an established company when it comes to the usage of artificial intelligence in the application for recruitment. So as part of that experience, we have been working with a large variety of different big names and even smaller companies, both in the staffing industry and in the HR tech industry. What we have done is essentially to help those partners and players to develop their own workflows in relation to the extraction of intelligent information from jobs and CVs, and also the combination of the information in terms of matching and prediction of the outcome. So we worked with those players on building different workflows to help them covering their specific use cases, and that's part of the experience that we have.
And you've been really successful. Obviously starting off in France in both government and military, expanding out into recruitment firms. But then, as you've expanded internationally, you've been working with other HR technology businesses. How did the business start, and what was the mission sort of from the outset?
Yeah, so the business started as a local business in France, but we quickly expanded to cover multiple segments in multiple countries. Right now, we operate at a global level, covering the US, North America, Europe, and also Asia Pacific. So the reason of this kind of growth is related to the fact that our technology is very flexible, because what we do is essentially providing our capabilities as a backend solution that can be adapted to cover different workflows, and our partners and customers can use our technology via APIs to power their different workflows. So with that, we are able to serve many use cases. We are able to cover many needs. And that's how we are able to serve different type of clients, different type of use cases, and cover also different type of markets.
Great. And you mentioned lots of different use cases. What would perhaps be the top three things where your APIs are called the most? What are the three use cases that HR professionals are really using at scale?
Yeah. So first, as I was mentioning before, we provide artificial intelligence. And when it comes to artificial intelligence applied to recruitment, normally many players, they use LLMs, generalist LLMs, to power their technology, which is a way to do that, right? But it poses some questions and some concerns. In our case, what we have done, we have developed vertical models specifically for the recruitment space. So we believe that essentially the recruitment industry requires an industrial application of AI. So what we have done is then creating models that have been trained on real recruitment data, and with that we are able to cover, let's say, two big use cases, and of course adapted to different workflows. So the first use case is the extraction of information. So we are able to extract information that are not just the explicit information that you can identify, for example, with the resume, but also the implicit information. So, for example, if you find a company name in a resume, that's the explicit information. But what our models are able to do is also potentially to say, what is the industry of that company? So that means that the person has a certain experience in that industry. On the other side, and same goes with different types of information like certification, other type of information. Then the second piece is the ranking part. So with that, we developed a whole set of ranking models that are really specific for the recruitment space and that can actually beat generalist models for this specific use case. And what we do is essentially we can predict the outcome of the combination of a CV and the job with a very high accuracy rate. So, for example, if you have a CV that is coming as an application to a job, we are able to tell with 94% accuracy rate if that CV will turn into a hire for that specific job. And you get not only the score, but potentially you also get the explanation of the reasons why the algorithm has taken a certain decision. And if I may add some information here, what we do here is particular because we provide this type of information as a deterministic model. So that means that, for example, if you use the same data to run the same ranking, you will always get the same result, which is not necessarily the case if you use an LLM, which kind of uses a probabilistic model and approach for this type of.
Okay, so deterministic rather than probabilistic. Anyway, before we dive into that in a bit more detail, what would be the third sort of use case? So the first one was extracting, the second one was ranking. What do you think would perhaps be your third largest use case?
So the third largest use case is there are two other big parts that we can cover. One is we offer the possibility then to move data from different platforms. Like we have a set of connectors that can be plugged into different platforms to extract information or push information that are processed also through our APIs. And we also offer the possibility to build apps that are essentially using our technologies to deliver specific user experiences to our clients. So there are certain clients that use our technology, for example, to build ranking in their database or to offer career platform for their candidates. So there are multiple combinations that can be enabled in this case.
Okay, thanks. And Pietro, we should add at this point, while we're, I'm in the UK and we're talking about a French business, but of course you're Italian and living just near Monza, outside of Milan. How did you come to join HR Flow? What was your career journey that got you to this point?
Yeah, so I've been in the HR tech for a very long time because I spent more than 15 years at Monster.com, where I was in charge of product roles, product projects, and then in the last part of my career at Monster, I was in charge of global partnerships. So I had a lot of experience developing connections with the HR tech industry at the time, and that's where I think, Neil, we connected the first time. I think also because we were also working with the tripod at that time.
Yes.
And then since last year, I moved to HR Flow, and that's where I'm in charge also of the HR tech business and connections. It's interesting for me because having an experience in a very old style online recruitment company like Monster, and then seeing the future with HRFlow.ai using AI for recruitment has been a very interesting experience so far.
Yeah, that sounds like a great journey. And obviously we were in contact when you were at Monster, and then I met Mudine and the team at RecFest. And for full disclosure, we should say that TribePad, we're a customer and a partner of HR Flow, and your technology is one of the key inputs in Sidekick, our AI assistant. And one of the reasons we were very attracted to HR Flow was exactly what you were talking about in terms of being a vertical specialist language model that was deterministic rather than a large language model that was probabilistic. And we have seen, I think you mentioned 94% accuracy, and certainly that's something we have tested, as you know, with some of our larger customers, where we've had human recruiters, sidekick assisting, and then repeating that exercise several times to make sure that the same results come through. So that's been a really interesting exercise for us, and it's something that there are real concerns about, legitimate concerns in the HR industry, and I guess other industries as well, where you hear people are biased, AI is made by people, therefore AI is biased, and there are plenty of data points that support that. Tell me a little bit more about how you deal with that at HR Flow, and why this specialist vertical language model is better than a more generalist large language model.
Yeah. So what we think, and that was the beginning of the journey of HR Flow, what we think is that really the recruitment domain is a very particular domain. So the type of information that you have in resumes, that you have in job descriptions are very specific to the recruitment industry. And that's why you need really an expertise to understand the information that you have delivered through resumes and job descriptions. That's true for a human being. That's also true for artificial intelligence. So we believe that, of course, LLMs are great, right? So it's not a matter of saying that this is not good technology, but there are specific applications that would require a vertical approach when it comes to AI. And recruitment is one of these. There are many reasons. One is, of course, the specificity of the domain. So you need to have a clear understanding of the specific reasons. For example, it's a stupid example, but imagine that you're looking at a resume for a developer and you find Python. The system should be able to know that Python is a programming language and not an animal. Right? Because then if you see a resume of a person that is actually, dealing with with snakes, right? You need to understand that the context is different. So that's a very stupid example, but that can give an idea of the specificity of the thing. The second element, which is very, very important, and I think that you outlined that as well, is the compliance part. So when it comes to usage of AI in recruitment, there are many, and there are even more and more compliance requirements that are coming. So, for example, in our case, we have developed a technology, of course, that is aligned to privacy requirements like GDPR, but we also developed a technology that since the beginning was aligned with the AI Act requirement. So the key part here is that humans should be in control of the process. So the idea is not to develop a technology that is going to replace humans in the process, but a technology that is going to facilitate the process for humans to remove, for example, the boring tasks and helping the recruiters kind of make the real high quality job of finding the right candidates. So that's very important. We also had we worked closely with the teams working on the AI Act. We have been mentioning the AI Act preparatory work. So we have been very, very aligned since the beginning to the requirements of the law when it comes to compliance. And the third component also, and I kind of briefly touched that already, is the fact that we do not believe that humans should be removed out of the process, but that the artificial intelligence approach should help humans kind of doing a better job. So we see that, for example, help
humans do a better job rather than replace humans.
Exactly. And I was saying that, for example, there are situations where AI can provide even a more qualitative job than recruiters. If you think that a first resume screening is taking a few seconds for a recruiter to be completed, that's not really high quality job. Like just look at the resume, identify a few keywords, and you try to identify a good resume like that as a human recruiter. An artificial intelligence model can actually get deeper and still be faster. So you can have a better first screening part and then still leave the recruiter doing his job of identifying the right candidates out of the information that you can get with the artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, and something that, I definitely see a narrative out there at the moment that screening using AI is bad. But I think there's a really good argument there that, well, that assumes that screening by humans is good. And
Yes.
actually, there's all kinds of studies about, how quickly people skim read CVs, all the different biases we have of, recognizing somebody with a name we recognize, or a city that we like, or a school that we went to, and all of those different things. And so I think there is a really good argument, and one that needs to be supported by the data. We need to prove that these tools are giving humans the ability to make a better hiring decision. I wonder how have you approached that with your, particularly public sector and military clients? I wonder how have they approached, making sure that this is fair and compliant?
Yeah, so there are multiple tricks that we put in place here. One of the big things here is the fact that you have the capability to report on the biases that you have in the recruitment processes. And you can actually compare what human recruiters are doing versus what the models are doing. And to your point, it's interesting because when you compare the results of the recruitment done by human recruiters, quite often you can find more biases than what you can get through a good model that is kind of monitored. So to some extent, AI can provide even a fairer recruitment processes because, for example, in our case, we do not take in consideration anything like personal information, gender, nationality, anything that could kind of lead to bad inference and biases in our system. While a human recruiter, naturally, they end up doing that. It's part of the human nature, especially when you are really constrained and in terms of timing, and you really need to move very fast in reviewing the resumes. So, yes, we do have a robust way of reporting on that. We also see that there are independent certifications that are kind of showing that the quality of the output is very good when it comes to controls in terms of biases. So that's kind of reinforcing, and that's really one of the plus. The upsides that you have with a system, that you can have better reporting on what it does.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And we touched on this 94% statistic in terms of finding the right candidate. I wonder, what are the outcomes? What are the success stories you're seeing from some of your clients who are now using AI at scale? What are you seeing, and what's the adoption like there?
Yeah, so that really depends on. We have different success stories depending on the type of clients, right? So if it's a staffing client, for example, then here the success story is really about optimizing the resources of the company, like reducing the time spent in screening processes. We have clients that told us that they are able to save up to 3 working hours per recruiter per day, thanks to our technology when it comes to identifying candidates in the existing database. That's also another way to optimize the resources for a company that already has a lot of resumes. That is like to identify candidates that maybe are already there, right? So you do not have to spend X money to find them from outside sources. You can really better leverage on what you have inside. For HR tech players, for example, that embed our solution for their clients, like job boards, for example, this is a solution that can really help to deliver, for example, apply qualification processes, which is really an important point when it comes to job boards right now, because there is an inflation of applications and everyone is complaining that they get too many applications that they are not very well qualified. With a solution like ours, you can actually get a way to predict if that application is going to be good for that job. So this is a way for you to qualify the application. It's a way for the job board to understand if what they are delivering is good enough for their clients, etc., etc. And same goes for ATS platforms, for example, that can really, leapfrog in their capability to develop AI, so they do not have to invest heavily on internal resources to develop mechanisms that are already available, for example, through HFlow, and adapt them to their existing workflows.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense. And I think those outcomes, certainly what we focus on at TribePad is there's easy stuff to measure. How long it's taking you to screen, how long it's taking you to arrange an interview, time to hire. Those are Those are sort of fairly quantitative metrics where you can really easily see that AI can help you be more efficient. But the real value is in being more effective, right? In hiring the best candidate and making sure that they become effective in your company as soon as possible. So I think that's going to be an area where the business cases are really going to fly by saying, look, we're not just filling vacancies quicker with fewer resources. We're fundamentally driving the growth and the culture of the company because we're finding the best people faster, and we're helping them orient themselves and become successful in the company more quickly. I think I think that's where the argument for using AI will go.
Yeah, and if I may add something here, which is very interesting. If you look at the recruitment market in general right now, right, we are really going through a paradigm shift right now, because it's not really only a matter of following the economic downturns, the trends that you have from an economic standpoint, but you really have situations where you have companies that are still growing in terms of profit and still reducing the headcount because they want to rely more on AI for some of their internal workflows. So in this type of context, recruiting a human being as part of the recruitment process, it's even more critical, right? Because you really want to have the right candidate in place for that job, because at the end of the day, that's where the human factor is providing the added value. So in this context, having systems that can support the recruiters doing their job in a better way, to your point, more effectively, and still give them the possibility to put their human touch as part of the final steps of the process, I think it's going to be, what is going to be winning at the end. So it's to your point, quality is more and more king.
Yeah. Totally agree. And I'm interested in, you've been with HR Flow more than a year now, and that's been a really important year because you guys had some, several $1 million of funding into the company. I wonder, how is the culture changing as the business grows? And you've come from Monster, which is a much bigger organization. How have you found adapting to a smaller organization?
Well, it has been a lot of fun, right? So it's, of course, HR Flow is a smaller company, but when you do this type of steps, it's because you want to grow and get more structured and get more established. So the trajectory is really to get even more structured than what we are, to being able to cover more markets, to open new opportunities with maybe new use cases. So, of course, we still can live the experience of a startup or scale up with velocity and really being able to deliver outcomes the proper way very fast, but still with the idea of being a company that grows and gets structured over the time.
Okay, great. And so you've obviously got an exciting year of growth, covering new markets, those things that you're looking to do. How do you think the market generally is going to develop over the next year? What do you see happening with AI in recruitment, particularly over the next 12 months?
So that's a very good question, because I answer to that question also not basing just only on the experience of HR Flow, but also basing on my past experience. Coming from Monster, and probably you're familiar to what happened. And to be very honest, Monster is just one example of what is happening overall in the job board industry, for example, and more broadly in the HR tech industry. As I was saying before, we are living a paradigm shift right now. So it's not just, okay, economy is uncertain, could be problematic. It's really, there's a change in all the different elements that are kind of impacting the recruitment process. So a lot of old established players, for example, are facing challenges. Some of them are getting out of the market. Some of them are getting replaced. There is a growing interest in using new type of technologies like AI. And here the real interesting question is, okay, everybody wants to use AI. Everybody's using AI, but what type of AI, right? It's easy to say I'm using AI, but back to what we were saying before, there are different ways to do that. And we think that there is a specific proper way to use AI in recruitment. So I think that's where the market is going to. More combination of artificial intelligence with the actual HR workflows, probably the market will get more mature and more savvy over the time about this. So it will not be enough to say, okay, I'm using AI, but again, how I'm using AI, to what extent, for what purpose. There is going to be more and more attention to the compliance part. You see that in the US, there are a lot of lawsuits coming for using AI. In Europe, there is the debate about the AI Act. So this is going to be a big topic. There is also the general question I was surfacing before about, okay, what companies are going to do about recruitment in general? What is going to still be done by humans and what is going to be done by AI overall as part of the business activities? This is going to have an impact. So all of this is kind of posing us at the starting point of a journey. I believe that probably there are not already all the answers to all of these questions, but we are starting seeing what the questions are. And so who is positioned to be able to start answering those questions is probably going to be in the right position to succeed.
Yeah. No, I like that. And who do you think are going to be the winners and losers? You've mentioned already some companies are declining and some companies are getting out of the market. Who do you see as being the winners and the losers?
So I think that anyone that is able to understand this paradigm, this change in the paradigm, this paradigm shift, and that is able to provide an answer that is aligned to the evolution is going to be one of the winners. And those that are kind of stick to all the methods, all the processes, they face risks to fall into the losers part. Of course, sometimes this means that you have to reinvent yourself. Sometimes it means that you have to disrupt what you do, but that's part of the change. And that's really, we are living a moment of change. And so anyone who is open to change is probably in a better shape than anyone that is trying to resisting to change.
Yeah, resisting change on this sort of scale and level doesn't seem like a smart move, that's for sure.
No.
Pietro, any sort of last thoughts on what recruitment teams should be thinking about over the next year?
So I think that it's really about thinking how this change is going to impact their workflows. They should not be scared of AI. I think that there are many studies saying that the recruiter job is one of the first jobs that will disappear with AI. I don't think that this is going to be the case. I think that the recruiter job is going to evolve together with AI. It's part of the change. But again, as we were saying before, who is going to embrace the change is going to win. So if the recruiters that are open to embrace the change, that are open to include a specific approach to AI into their workflows are probably better posed to success than those that are trying to resist change.
Yeah, agree completely. And I guess one last thing, you're a very experienced, seasoned recruitment technology professional. If you could go back and talk to yourself when you were 20 years old, what career advice would you have?
I think that I would probably tell him to tell myself to just do what I've done, because it's been a lot of fun, to be honest. Sometimes when you think about HR tech, you think that this is kind of a niche business, quite boring. It's not shiny like other type of business, but it's one of the businesses that is most open to innovation that I could see. And really, during my career, I really saw the beginning where, just having a website was like, something completely innovative. And then we had mobile, we had social media, we had SAS, we had any kind of innovation down to AI right now. So this is ever moving. And that's because, that's the beauty of HR tech. It's using technology in combination with HR, which is human. So anything that is impacting humans is going to impact HR tech. And it has been a lot of fun.
Great. I'm glad it's been a lot of fun. No regrets in the career is always a great answer. So Pietro Manenti, thank you so much for chatting with me today, and best of luck for more further growth with HR Flow.
Thank you, Neil, and happy to partner with you.
My thanks to Pietro from HR Flow, who gave us some really interesting insights into how AI can actually turbocharge recruitment without replacing humans. This is The View from TribePad. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify. Subscribe to us at tribepad.com/theview to get notifications for all future episodes, and we hope to see you again.